Hi everyone, I'm just in front of the Stadio Franchi where Fiorentina beat Juventus 3-0, and it was a massive win for the Tuscans because they remain in the race for the European placement and even for a Champions League spot, even if after tonight not even Juventus are in a Champions League placement because Bologna beat Lazio 5-0, which means the Rossoblù are now fourth with a 1 point lead over Juventus. There's a lot to be said about this Fiorentina Juventus, not only because of the Tuscans' great performance, but also because Juventus have now lost two consecutive matches. They have conceded 7 goals in the last two, and they haven't scored any. And as I said, their result means they're now outside a Champions League placement. Of course, such a disappointing performance led to questions on whether Motta would remain at the helm of Juventus during the international break, and we have already received the answer, which is yes, Motta is going to stay. Director Cristiano Giuntoli spoke to Sky Sport Italia after the game and said he admitted that this is, of course, a difficult time for the team, but he said, we want to stick together, we are going to stay together, we want to continue with Thiago Motta. Thiago Motta as well refused to resign. He said that it would be too easy to walk away and leave the team in this situation. But of course, the fans are not happy. He has received a lot of criticism from pundits and from important pundits as well, like Alessandro Del Piero, best scorer in Juventus history, player with the most appearances, probably the most loved player in the history of the club. He was very harsh on Sky Sport Italia, and he said that he was shocked by the lack of Juventus reaction, which is partially what Thiago Motta said as well. He didn't like the fact that Juventus just melted after the first difficult moment, and I have to say Motta is pretty flat on his explanations. He doesn't say much when Juventus lose. He just say that. The explanation for the last two games has been very similar. Today, he said it was a sort of continuation of what Juventus had showed against Atalanta. And do you remember last week? It was a shocking performance, which even led most of the fans to leave the Allianz Stadium 15 minutes before the halftime whistle. Something I never really had seen before in a football game that I attended at the stadium. So it was. It was something shocking to see, and after such a bad performance, after such a bad result, you would expect to see some sort of reaction. You would expect to see something in the following match, and the following match today was just the same thing. A decent start, 10-15 minutes played decently from Juventus, but then after the first goal from Fiorentina, they, as I said, they just melted. They didn't react. They didn't show anything on the pitch. Michele Di Gregorio, the Juventus goalkeeper, had a brief press conference after the game, which I attended. And one of the questions was, "Do you still believe in this coach? Do you still believe in Thiago Motta?" The reply, of course, it would be quite strange to see somebody who comes out and say, "No, we don't. We no longer believe in the coach." But even Di Gregorio struggled to explain why Juventus are having this hard time and why they really struggle to react whenever they have a difficult moment. Whenever they concede a goal, they never bounce back. They never fight back. They just it's almost as if they surrender. And this was another question for Di Gregorio. Do you see a Juventus that surrenders on the pitch after the last couple of games? And he said he accepted that the feeling that the media and the fans can get from the outside could be this one, but he said, I refuse to think that this team wants to surrender, and I refuse to this is something that I don't want to see. I don't even think that Juventus and my teammates are surrendering after the very difficult, just one difficult moment. There are many questions now for Juventus. One has partially or totally been answered, but Thiago Motta will surely remain under scrutiny for the next few games and probably until the end of the season. He has to reach the top four, 100%, because Juventus can't afford not to go in the Champions League because of sporting reasons and because of financial reasons as well. He must go in the Champions League, and he has to turn things around as quickly as possible. He said in his press conference that he is the man that Juventus must rely on to turn things around and to improve the situation, but it has to be quick because Juventus are already out of Champions League, already out of Coppa Italia, and they're currently even out of the top four. So they need a reaction, and they need to be very quick because the opponents are tough. Bologna, they're running for a top four spot again. Lazio, they are still in the race. Even Roma are just 4 points below the top four. They won 10 games at home from the last 11. They're running very quickly with Claudio Ranieri. So there are many teams still involved in the race for the top four. And the state Juventus are right now, they're not going to get in the Champions League if they don't get any improvement, if there is not any improvement. And then you have to see if Juventus really believe in Thiago Motta or if they just keep him because of financial reasons. This could be one of the reasons why Thiago Motta stays as well. I mean, he signed a 3-year contract over the summer, so you know that in order to sack Thiago Motta and his staff, Juventus would need to pay around 20 million gross until the end of the contract in 2027. It's a lot of money, and the project has just started on paper. So they want to stick with him for sure for financial reasons as well. But if the financial reason is the main reason why they sack Thiago Motta, then why they don't sack Thiago Motta, then they are in trouble. They must all believe in Thiago Motta. They must all believe in what he does, and this is something that is not always mirrored in the Juventus performance. You don't always see a Juventus that believe in what Thiago Motta does. The last 3 games were really shocking on this perspective. Some decisions were very strange as well, both in the starting 11 and in terms of substitutions. One of the things that Del Piero said on Sky Sport Italia was Juventus were down 3-0, and the first 3 substitutions that Motta made were 3 defenders. He changed 3 defenders rather than trying to put a new winger in, or even Vlahovic, even if the environment wasn't ideal for Vlahovic today because, of course, he's an ex-Fiorentina striker, and the environment was pretty difficult today for Juventus, and especially for ex-Fiorentina players. Nico Gonzalez, every time he touched the ball, he was booed, and there were insults for him as well. So it was tough for any Juventus player on the pitch, but especially for ex-Fiorentina players. But of course, it's for Vlahovic, it's not much about the Fiorentina environment. It's clear that Thiago Motta doesn't see Vlahovic as a starter, doesn't see Vlahovic as an important player to Juventus. And he didn't give him any minute today, just like in other games. Last week against Atalanta, Vlahovic played only a few minutes when the match was practically over. So there are decisions that must be explained and must be analyzed by Motta and by Juventus. For example, Cambiaso didn't start today, and it's another difficult decision to understand. He actually suffered an injury as well in the second half, and he was limping off in pain. So you have to see whether he will be available for the next game, and even for the Italy game against Germany. But he didn't start the match. He was introduced in the second half. Gatti was introduced in the second half, and Motta picked a 3-man defense, which is something he had never done before. Probably he wanted to play with the same system of Fiorentina, trying to play man on man, but the result didn't work out. The thing is that even when it changes, like today, the performance is pretty much the same. The performance is pretty flat. Juventus tend to keep the ball. Juventus tend to have more ball possession than their opponents. but they don't create better chances than their opponent. They don't create much, and even mentally now they're really, really struggling because they don't react when something bad happens. So there will be a lot to say about Juventus over the next few days and weeks. And again, the general feeling about Thiago Motta, the club confirmed that he's going to stay, but the general feeling is that they must really believe that Motta is the right man for the project. If they only keep Motta because of the money, then Juventus are probably in trouble and they're going to struggle to reach the top four, because the other competitors for the top four, they're all really strong, they're all in shape, especially Bologna and Roma. They're having a great season. Roma, especially mostly under Ranieri, only under Ranieri actually, but they're really in shape now, and so they all go the same way. The coach, the club, the players, they all go the same way, so they're all really strong. This is not happening at Juventus, and so they need to be 100% sure that Motta is the right man to continue the project. Otherwise, they need to make different decisions, but as we understand, this is not going to be the case during the international break. I hope you like this video. I'm going to cover more games, including Italy, Germany, this week, next week on Thursday. So if you like these videos, if you like my videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you'll be getting many more about Serie A and Italian football. We speak very, very soon. Ciao e grazie.